Let's get into the TakeOver card for Sunday. It looks like it's going to be a good show. It definitely was rushed. Like, a lot of these matches kind of came together at the last minute. The TakeOvers never disappoint, but I would have probably waited until like July or something to do another one, just because this kind of feels too soon after the last TakeOver. We'll start from the bottom, work our way up here. Mercedes Martinez versus Xia Li. Kind of a random match, which Xia Li mentioned last week on the show. She's going after Mercedes because it was Mercedes who knocked her out of the Dusty Roads, the Mae Young Classic a couple of years ago. I know it's been a while, but at least there's a storyline reason behind it. They're clearly super behind Xia Li right now. They were building her up for a while, having her beat, Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro, and then we didn't see her for a little bit. But she's back now, and she's facing one of the finest women's wrestlers in NXT, Mercedes. So is this the next step for Xia Li, or do you think Mercedes gets her win back after losing to Raquel a couple of weeks ago?
This was an interesting one. I don't know. I feel like they are very high on Xia Li. I think she's okay. I don't think she's great. I'm not the biggest Mercedes fan, but I think she's great in the ring. So I think that I'll go with Xia Li here. I think it makes the most sense. I think they're trying to push her, and it seems like Mercedes might be main roster bound sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, let's mention this real quick. I know it was reported this past week that either she or Piper Niven from NXT UK might be earmarked to be the new heavy bodyguard, side, whatever you want to call it, for Eva Marie when she gets called up to Raw starting next week. Do you like the idea of either one of those women being with her, or would you have it be someone else, or what would you do with the Eva Marie character on Raw?
I think either or makes sense. I feel like Niven might make a little bit more sense just because she's bigger, and I don't know. I feel like they don't really have too many big women on the roster, but yeah, I would go with Niven more than Mercedes, but I think either or would be a fine option.
Yeah, either one would be fine. I would just go more so with Niven just because Mercedes was just a part of the main roster for a little bit with the whole Retribution shit, which was terrible. I don't know if she'd be buried with Eva. I mean, she could just be used to get her over and then kind of break off on her own, but I don't know. Her being on Raw right now just doesn't really excite me, so I hope she kind of stays in NXT for a little bit longer before they end up moving her up at some point. But yeah, Xia Li, I've been impressed with, honestly. I think the whole gimmick they've been doing with her and this whole group, Tian, I forgot what it's called exactly, Tian Shang or Tian Shaw or something like that. I like it. I think, it's something different. They dragged it out for a while, but Xia Li has potential. So I think Xia Li wins here and kind of works her way up the ranks in the NXT Women's division. Speaking of which, for the NXT Women's Championship, pretty predictable outcome here. Raquel Gonzalez, who just won the championship in April, versus Ember Moon for the title out of revenge for what Raquel did to Shotzi Blackheart a few weeks ago. We've seen the match before. Raquel's beaten Ember before. This should be no different. This kind of feels like just a filler match to me, with Raquel going over pretty decisively.
Ember wins LO. Just kidding. I mean, Raquel just you just put that in my brain again. You hit it home again. Raquel wins LOL. I like Ember. I think taking the belt off Raquel already would be so dumb. And I think there's so much more to do with her. Ember's great as well. It's just not her time.
Well, I do think it's a positive that they're not rushing into Dakota Kai versus Raquel, which kind of looked like might be the case coming off of Raquel's title defense over Mercedes recently on the show. I had said that Dakota kind of showed some frustration, so I'm glad they're not rushing into that. Do you see that being the next program for Raquel, or do you think there's more women for her to run through before she gets to Dakota Kai?
I would have her slay a few more people before you get to Dakota. I think there's more story to tell there. I wouldn't just rush it.
When would you do the rematch between Io and Raquel? Because that was kind of teased last night, too, when Io came back.
I would do that before you do her and Dakota. I would say save her and Dakota for SummerSlam weekend, honestly.
So Io's more of a TV match, right? Like Balor and Cross was for the rematch?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. Match came completely out of nowhere last night, but it was announced Bronson Reed and MSK versus all of Legato del Fantasma Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and that's not a compliment. I apologize, Santos. Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul Mendoza. Six-man tag team match. Winner take all for both the North American Championship and the NXT Tag Team Championship. Now, the match should be great, but again, ass backwards booking. Reed and MSK just won the belt, so listen, I love Legato, but I wouldn't have them win right now. I just feel like you could have done Reed and Escobar first and then built to this, and they just kind of announced it out of nowhere. It just feels really weird to me.
Yeah, it seems pretty random. Seems really rushed. The babyfaces have to win here. I mean, I like Legato Fantasma, but Reed just won the belt, and MSK. I mean, they just won the belts as well. And I think they just not gonna. I think Grizzly Young Vets are probably gonna lose the belts too. So I'd keep it on MSK for a little bit longer.
Do you think Grizzly Young Vets are beating Ciampa and Thatcher next week in the Tornado Tag Team match?
Yes.
So with this match, do you think MSK takes the loss and then that kind of paves the way, since he wasn't pinned, for Escobar and Reed one-on-one?
Yeah, you can have someone on MSK beat one of the members, either Wilder, Mendoza, and then you could still do Reed and Santos just because he didn't get pinned.
Yeah, I could see them doing that. Reed just won the championship, so I just feel like the timing is weird because they want Escobar to win it, but it's like Reed literally just won it. So it's tough to say. But, like, I don't know. Would you do that and then do Reed and Escobar one-on-one? Escobar loses again, and then maybe he gets called up or something? Like, I just don't know what more you do with him if he just keeps losing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's going to get called up anytime soon. I mean, I'm a little perplexed they rushed it so soon, but that's a card with dealt GSM, unfortunately.
So we get to some of the other matches on this card. 2 more matches, actually. It's really not that deep of a card. We already mentioned it. Ladder match for the vacant, rejuvenated, resurrected $1 million championship between Cameron Grimes and LA Knight. This might be the most unpredictable match on the entire show, because I can definitely see LA Knight winning this. He hasn't won any major matches since coming back to the company. And then Grimes also hasn't really won much since he returned a few months ago. So this is kind of a must-win situation for both guys. I'm not really sure who wins here, but I'm going to go with Grimes. I think we get the feel-good moment of Grimes winning. Would you have him be aligned with Ted DiBiase? Well, first of all, before we get into anything else, who do you think wins this match?
I want Grimes to win, but I think Knight's going to win.
I'm fine with either guy because I like both of them, and I really like LA Knight. I just don't know who wins. Now, do you think this solidifies Cameron Grimes as a babyface on the roster, or do you think this is just a one-off between 2 heels?
I mean, his character seemed very heelish, but then the whole DiBiase stuff kind of made him feel more like a babyface. I don't know. I think Grimes needs to win more. Like, I like LA Knight, but Grimes, like, it seemed like they were pushing him, like, up the moon to the moon, no pun intended. And then, like, he had a good series of losses, and then, like, they seemed like they were regaining his footing with his new gimmick, and having him lose again, I don't know.
So what do you do with DiBiase and Grimes? Do you have him become his new manager, or LA Knight's new manager, or is this it for Ted DiBiase, do you think, on NXT? He was just kind of there to introduce the $1 million championship.
I think you have to keep him associated with whoever has in the interim. It would just be weird holding his belt for kind of, like, randomness. I don't know.
No, I could see that. Like when Ted DiBiase Jr. had the belt for, like, 6 months, but, I mean, his dad didn't have to be on the show at that point, but they never did anything with Ted DiBiase. That guy just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, exactly. I would keep him on TV just to keep these guys seem like they're some relevant. I don't know. You're always with the legend. It makes a little bit more of a push. So whoever it is, I would keep him with DiBiase.
Yeah, I agree. And then we get to the main event for the NXT Championship, your favorite multi-man match. Fatal 5-way here. Karrion Kross, Adam Cole, Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly, and Johnny Gargano for the NXT Championship. You know, I was gonna say, oh, it's predictable. Karrion just won the championship. He's gonna retain, but he's not the type. Like, they're not gonna have. I don't think they would have him get beat on the way out. I think he might remain undefeated if he was to leave. And honestly, with how bad Raw is right now, and they need fresh faces, even on SmackDown too, with all the people they just released, I could see them wanting Kross in the main roster. So I think this could be a situation where he might lose the championship without getting pinned.
Yeah, I think that's why they're doing the Fatal 5-way. I hate it. But I think him losing and not actually getting pinned is what they're going for. So I think he'll lose here, unfortunately. But I think that's why they're doing the Fatal 5-way or whatever.
No, I will say this, because, listen, I hate all the multi-man matches too. But as far as NXT is concerned, with that championship specifically, I don't think we've ever seen a multi-man match for that championship, other than when they did the Iron Man title match last September on the show, since that Fatal 4-way at TakeOver Fatal 4-way like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So it's not something they do often. Usually it's almost always one-on-one matches. So I'm kind of okay with this. But yeah, so that being said, if he doesn't get pinned, or if he doesn't get pinned and loses the championship, who would you have it be to?
Shit. I honestly don't even know who's in the match. Can you list them off, please?
Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and Pete Dunne.
Shit, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Kyle O'Reilly, and Pete Dunne.
Yep.
Oh shit. Fuck. It's not gonna be Adam Cole because booking 101. He's not gonna win.
He was the last one standing on Tuesday, too.
Yep, don't want to be Gargano, so it's not going to be him. I mean, the guy's been in developmental for 15 years. Move on. I'm going to go with...
I think Gargano might be just in here to take the pin.
Shit. I'm going to go with Kyle O'Reilly. It's so close between him and Pete Dunne. I just don't know if they see Pete Dunne at the champion level, but I think he's great. But I think Kyle winning here, they can continue him and Adam and do it for the belt. So I'm going to say Kyle O'Reilly wins.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to go with Pete Dunne, to be honest with you. I think, my prediction is that Karrion retains. I think this is all a bunch of smoke and mirrors, and he retains. Again, like you said, I don't know if they see Pete Dunne at that level. It's not like he's ever held... I know he was UK champion for 20 years, but, he's never held the North American Championship. He's never been NXT champion. So I don't know. It's really tough to say. If I was going to say anyone, it would be Pete Dunne. I feel like O'Reilly, if he was to win the championship, it should be in like a one-on-one match because they've been building up his story so much and he's been kind of under the radar lately. I would say that, do you think maybe Adam Cole wins the belt and then O'Reilly has to beat him for it? Do you think that's a possibility? But I don't know. It's the same thing with AEW. Like, why would you start off with an unsanctioned match? Because I feel like that feud's not over. So that's why I say Adam Cole wins and then O'Reilly beats him for it.
It's possible. I just don't think Cole... I would rather have Kyle win the belt. I don't need to see Cole like a 3-time champion. Like, it's been done to death.
Yeah, and Balor was a 2-time champion, too. And another thing with that, too, is with what I said, is if Adam wins it here and then O'Reilly wins it, like, at the next one, that's 3 straight NXT title changes on 3 straight takeovers.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck, I don't know. I'm going with Kyle O'Reilly still. I'm not changing my answer.
Okay, Mr. Marceau. Good pick. Yeah, I think it's safe to say Cole. I don't know. Cole is definitely, there's a chance there, honestly. There's a chance with the O'Reilly thing. But I think it's safe to say Gargano is not walking out as the new NXT champion, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that. So, I don't know, dude. This one's tough. Karrion could be main roster bound. Cole could be main roster bound. He should be main roster bound. This is tough. I am looking forward to it, though. I enjoyed last year's In Your House pay-per-view, so this should be a fun show as well on the whole. I'm looking forward to it. What about you?
I think it should be a good show. I think it is rushed, like we've said a few times, but I still think it'll be a good show.